The whispers began quietly, a few cryptic posts, a subtle smile in Amy Roloff's latest video, and a moment that made even longtime Little People, Big World fans pause. What if Amy Roloff's silence wasn't surrender but strategy? After years of heartbreak, betrayal, and public scrutiny, Amy may have finally done what no one expected. She turned the tables. Her quiet revenge, wrapped not in anger but in grace, has left fans stunned. Caryn Chandler, who many thought held all the cards, might never have seen it coming. This isn't a story about chaos or confrontation. It's about a woman who chose to outsmart rather than outshout. A story of patience, timing, and the kind of strength that doesn't need to scream to be heard. Amy Roloff, the heart of the Roloff family legacy, has always been underestimated. But behind that warmth and compassion lies a sharp mind, one that's been quietly watching, waiting, and planning. So when Caryn thought she had everything, Matt, the farm, the spotlight, Amy was working on something far greater. A masterstroke of wisdom that proved sometimes silence can be the loudest revenge of all. Because this time, it wasn't just about love or loss, it was about respect. And Amy found a way to reclaim hers without ever breaking her composure. Stay tuned, because what unfolded next would reveal a side of Amy Roloff few have ever seen, the side that reminds everyone, you don't need to fight dirty when you know the power of quiet genius. Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. For Roloff family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Amy Roloff's story began as one of resilience and faith. For years, she was the heart of Little People, Big World, a devoted mother, a hardworking partner, and the emotional glue that held the Roloff family together. She and Matt built Roloff Farms from the ground up, transforming it into both a family legacy and a symbol of perseverance for viewers worldwide. But behind the charming pumpkin patch and family dinners, cracks were forming. The pressures of fame, business disagreements, and emotional distance quietly eroded the foundation of their marriage. By the time Amy and Matt announced their separation, fans could already sense the emotional storm brewing. Amy's vulnerability was evident. She spoke openly about feeling unseen and undervalued, about how the spark that once defined their relationship had dimmed. Her divorce was not just a legal split, it was the painful unraveling of decades of shared dreams. And as she tried to move forward, she was forced to confront something that made her heart break even harder: Caryn Chandler. Caryn had been part of the Roloff Farms team for years. At first, she was simply a familiar face, efficient, friendly, and deeply involved in the daily operations of the farm. But as time went on, fans began noticing subtle shifts. Caryn and Matt's interactions seemed unusually close, their chemistry undeniable. What began as quiet speculation soon turned into public scrutiny, especially when Amy hinted in her memoir, A Little Me, that emotional boundaries had been crossed long before the divorce was finalized. To many fans, it felt like betrayal, not just marital but personal. Caryn wasn't an outsider. She had been part of the Roloff world, someone Amy had trusted within her family's inner circle. That trust, once broken, became the emotional centerpiece of Amy's post-divorce journey. While Caryn and Matt moved forward publicly with their relationship, Amy was left to pick up the pieces of a life that no longer looked familiar. Still, Amy refused to crumble. She moved off the farm, bought her own home, and began crafting a new identity beyond being Matt's ex-wife. Yet even as she rebuilt, the shadow of betrayal loomed large. Fans couldn't help but notice how her pain translated into quiet strength, how she chose grace instead of revenge and growth instead of bitterness. Meanwhile, Caryn's rise drew mixed reactions. Supporters saw her as someone who genuinely loved Matt and had every right to pursue happiness. But critics viewed her as the wedge that shattered a once-beloved couple. The contrast between Amy's vulnerability and Caryn's confident new role in Matt's life became one of the most talked-about dynamics in Little People, Big World history. Over time, what should have been a private emotional wound turned into a public narrative of loyalty and betrayal. And though both women tried to move forward, Amy with Chris Merrick and Caryn with Matt, the tension never fully disappeared. Even years later, when family events brought them together, fans sensed that unspoken strain, polite smiles masking unresolved. That's the history that shaped everything that followed. A story of love, loss, and the quiet endurance of a woman who refused to let betrayal define her. Amy Roloff didn't just survive the heartbreak, she transformed it into her power. But what no one expected was that her silence, her patience, and her quiet grace might one day become her greatest weapon. What appeared to be silence was actually strategy. While many fans thought Amy Roloff had chosen to simply move on after her split from Matt and the arrival of Caryn in his life, what was really happening behind the scenes was far more deliberate and, in many ways, brilliant. Amy didn't seek revenge through confrontation or public drama. Instead, she began rebuilding her identity piece by piece, away from the shadows of Roloff Farms. This wasn't about bitterness, it was about balance. She had spent decades tied to a name, a brand, and a family legacy that was shared. Now it was time to create something that was entirely her own. Her first move was subtle yet powerful, launching Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen. At first, it seemed like just another celebrity side project, recipes, cookbooks, and kitchen merchandise. But to those paying close attention, it was more than that. It was Amy reclaiming her creativity, her independence, and her voice. She was building her own brand from scratch, something Caryn could never take away or step into. Every recipe post, every cozy photo of her cooking in her new home, every cheerful video with her fans, all of it was part of her quiet transformation. She no longer needed to prove anything to Matt or compete with Caryn for attention. Instead, Amy let her success and happiness speak louder than any confrontation ever could. And that's what made her so brilliant. Her revenge wasn't about tearing anyone down, it was about rising above. Her fans noticed. Many began commenting that Amy looked more confident, radiant, and at peace than ever before. It wasn't just her cooking or her social media updates, it was the energy she gave off, one of calm control and self-assurance. She also used her platform wisely, subtly reshaping the narrative around her life. Rather than speaking out directly about Matt or Caryn, she focused on gratitude, empowerment, and joy. That choice alone, the refusal to fuel drama, was a masterstroke. It showed maturity in class, but it also turned the public conversation around. While others were speculating about the past, Amy was already steps ahead, defining her future. Even her marriage to Chris Merrick reflected her quiet genius. Instead of repeating old patterns, she chose someone who respected her independence and supported her personal goals. Together, they built a relationship rooted in balance, one where Amy didn't have to shrink herself to make someone else comfortable. It was, in its own way, the perfect counterpoint to her years with Matt. Her life after Roloff Farms became a living example of the phrase, "success is the best revenge." Amy didn't need to call anyone out. Her thriving business, happy marriage, and loyal fan base said everything for her. She turned what could have been a painful ending into a powerful rebirth. And while Caryn might have thought she won, when she became Matt's partner, Amy's calm success story proved otherwise. In the long game of dignity, growth, and peace, Amy Roloff was the true victor. By this point, fans had started to recognize the pattern. Amy's every move wasn't random, it was strategic. From her television appearances to her cookbook releases, from fan Q and As to motivational posts, she wasn't reacting emotionally anymore. She was leading her own narrative. And that's what made it so genius. Her revenge wasn't about revenge at all, it was about control, quiet control, the kind that no one could take from her again. Over the past few months, things have been shifting in a way no one could have predicted. Caryn Chandler, once the confident and ever-present partner of Matt Roloff, seems to be struggling both in her relationship and in the public eye. Fans who once viewed her as Matt's supportive companion are now noticing cracks in their dynamic. Subtle tension in interviews, awkward silence during joint appearances, and a visible emotional distance. These moments have sparked new discussions online. Viewers can't help but feel that something has changed behind the scenes. Caryn's charm, once her biggest asset, seems to be losing its effect. Where she was once outspoken and sure of her place in Matt's life, now she appears guarded, cautious, even defensive. Some speculate that the mounting criticism from fans and ongoing family friction have taken a toll. Others believe Caryn underestimated how deeply the Roloff audience was still emotionally tied to Amy. Because as Caryn's image began to fade, Amy's presence grew stronger, not through drama, but through quiet consistency. Amy, in contrast, has been thriving in her own lane. Her cooking brand is flourishing, her marriage to Chris Merrick appears steady and grounded, and her social media reflects positivity and warmth. Fans see her living her best life, sharing recipes, community events, and simple, joyful moments. She's not competing, she's not arguing, she's just being, and in doing so, she's winning hearts again. It's as though Amy figured out something Caryn didn't, that the best revenge isn't retaliation, it's peace. While Caryn battles the stress of public scrutiny and rumors of relationship tension, Amy's calm demeanor has become her quiet weapon. She's reclaimed her narrative without confrontation, showing that she didn't need to tear anyone down to rise back up. Fans have definitely noticed. Social media is once again full of Team Amy posts. Supporters are praising her grace and strength, saying things like, "Amy didn't have to say a word, she's living proof that karma works quietly." Others point out how Amy's authenticity shines through, contrasting with what they perceive as Caryn's forced appearances and defensive tone. Every new Little People Big World update seems to feed this shift in perception. When Matt and Caryn appear together, fans dissect every glance, every tone. Meanwhile, Amy posts a cooking video, a charity update, or a sweet message to Chris, and the internet lights up with warmth. This is Amy's comeback not through scandal but through subtle power. Her trap, as some fans call it, wasn't something she set intentionally. It was the simple act of living her truth, refusing to engage in bitterness, and allowing time to reveal everyone's true character. In a world where drama usually wins, Amy's quiet strength has become revolutionary. Caryn may have won the farm years ago, but Amy won the audience. And that, in many fans' eyes, is the victory that truly matters. As the years passed, something remarkable began to happen, quietly, gracefully, and almost poetically. Amy Roloff, once seen as the heartbroken ex-wife left behind on Roloff Farms, began to rise again. But this time, her strength didn't come from confrontation. It came from peace, independence, and self-worth. Her marriage to Chris marked more than just a new chapter. It was the beginning of Amy reclaiming her life on her own terms. Fans often say you can see it in her eyes now. A calm assurance, a sense that she no longer needs to prove anything to anyone. With Chris by her side, Amy's found a partnership built not on the past, but on mutual respect, humor, and shared adventure. It's a love that feels grounded, something many fans say she was searching for all along. At the same time, Amy's independence has flourished. Her cooking brand, Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen, has become a symbol of her resilience. She's transformed her passion into a thriving business, connecting with fans through recipes, cooking videos, and personal stories. Every cake, every dish she shares feels like a message. I've healed, I've moved on, I'm happy. And fans have noticed. Social media platforms are flooded with messages of support, calling Amy the real queen of Little People Big World. Her positivity, honesty, and refusal to stoop to drama have only made her more beloved. While others chase attention, Amy simply lives well, and that in itself has become her quiet victory. Even TLC seems to have recognized this shift. In recent seasons, the spotlight subtly began to drift back toward Amy, her home life, her new marriage, her ventures, and the wisdom she's gained from her journey. It's as though the network realized that Amy's authenticity still anchors the soul of the show. For longtime fans, this turning point feels like poetic justice. Without ever attacking, without ever lashing out, Amy managed to come out stronger, not bitter, but better. Her silence, her patience, and her focus on her own growth became her greatest weapons. Now, viewers believe Amy has won the long, quiet battle not by tearing anyone down, but by standing tall and showing that peace and success are the sweetest forms of revenge. Amy Roloff didn't just survive, she evolved. And in doing so, she reminded everyone that sometimes the most powerful comeback doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be true. As Amy Roloff's journey unfolds, it becomes clear that her greatest strength was never in fighting louder, it was in standing taller. Through heartbreak, betrayal, and the painful process of rebuilding her life after her marriage to Matt ended, Amy proved that resilience doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it smiles, and sometimes it simply moves forward. Her emotional intelligence has been her armor. Amy never tried to destroy those who hurt her, she chose instead to outgrow them. Where bitterness could have taken root, she planted gratitude. Where anger might have burned bridges, she built new paths toward self-worth. Happiness and peace. Fans have seen her evolve not as a victim of the past, but as a woman who learned how to let go without losing herself. Amy's story is no longer about revenge, it's about legacy. She's showing her children, her fans, and even her critics that the truest form of victory is grace. While others may seek validation in winning arguments or proving points, Amy has found hers in living fully, surrounded by love, purpose, and quiet confidence. In the end, Amy Roloff didn't just survive the chaos of Roloff Farms, she transcended it. Her calm persistence became her power, her silence became her statement, and her forgiveness became her freedom. With that said, thanks for watching and until next time.